Alright, so as we get started, we are going to watch a pro Deadlock game that happened earlier today between two European teams, DMS and
You are not some tool to be discarded.
I'm sorry, they don't have their team name in their names, so it's slipping my mind at the moment. My apologies. But the reason we're doing this is this character on screen right now, Haze. Also, one sec, let me go ahead and fix this. Oop. There, you don't need to see the replay HUD. Anyway, everyone has been saying online, well, maybe not everyone, but a large number of people have been saying online, Haze is a bad hero. Haze is not suitable for top-level play. Haze could never be a competitive hero. Haze is D tier, Haze is F tier. I've seen so much Haze slander. So many people say Haze has a bad ult. Haze is auto-countered. And we're going to watch a Haze absolutely crush a professional game. And we're going to analyze exactly what this Haze did that made it work, and exactly why the Haze was able to work so well. And hopefully help dispel the rumor that Haze is a bad hero. Hold on, we're fast-forwarding through this. Ooh. There we go. And part of it is just because I really do like analyzing these things and dispelling myths that other people say. And the other part of it is so that I can look at the internet and everybody that's ever said this and say, I told you Haze was good. Because Haze is actually pretty solid. Is she the best carry in the game? No. I'd say that probably goes to Wraith. But I do think Haze is still very strong. I do think Haze is a very competitive hero when played well. And I think the problem is a lot of people's choices in either items or how they play.
Good job.
Also, let me turn the volume down on that just a tiny bit. It seems a little loud. So, what we're going to do is analyze some stuff that happens a little after the earliest of the early games here. So the super early game here is just your usual laning. You'll notice the very first skill that Haze took was her dagger, and the reason for that is very simple. Taking fixation first is nice if you're going to shoot them a whole bunch, and that's great and all, but the dagger allows you so much more opportunity to make things happen. Land a dagger on an enemy hero, you and your ally can both just walk up and charge punch the crap out of them and deal like 300, 400 damage out of their 550 health pool, you know? And here's where we start seeing why the Haze was so successful. Did that do a whole lot? No. But it did relieve a little bit of pressure on the Abrams, it put a little bit more pressure on the Pocket, and it puts into the mind of the Pocket, hey, Haze might just run invisible over to your lane and throw a dagger at you. Which means that he either has to, A, play very, very defensive anytime that Haze disappears from her lane, or B, make sure that he always saves his cape to teleport himself out of danger. And this is, I think, the crux of what makes this Haze pick work out so well. Look at that. The lane got pushed, the creeps got cleared. Immediately, Haze is invisible, Haze is in the Pocket's lane again, and the Pocket, you notice where he's positioned. Very far back. Doesn't matter. Haze just throws a dagger, they clear the wave, and once more, pressure is put onto the Pocket. The Pocket is not able to really play a lane because of this threat. And the Haze can move from one lane to the other a lot easier than the Warden or the Ivy can at this point in time just because of that invisibility. And I think this is the thing that you're not seeing in pub games. This is the thing you're not seeing out of your teammates when it comes to a random player that you have online. And I think this is what really is setting apart the difference between what people think Haze is capable of versus what she's actually capable of. At least in the very early game, because the thing that everyone says is that Haze takes too long before she becomes a hero, because everyone plays her in a very passive farming style. Great movement there. And everyone is constantly like, Haze has to farm first, Haze has to clear the whole jungle, Haze has to get 20 items before she can go fight. And that's clearly not true. Also, the other thing this is doing, which is very smart, is Haze is getting all that extra farm. She's getting an extra boost in farm by being part of 2 lanes. Being part of the Abrams pocket lane as well as her normal lane. And listen, you can hear Ivy coming on, and Pocket comes over here, casts Affliction, but at the end of the day, do they get anything out of it? They do a little damage. They do a little bit of damage, but that's about it. But here's the thing, Haze doesn't care too much about it, because she got that very useful healing right item. And Abrams doesn't care about it, because he's Abrams. And Haze will just clear a little bit of jungle. You notice the item that she just picked up prior to this was the Slowing Hex as well. A fantastic item against Pocket, just to keep Pocket from being able to use his cape to get away, and just a really strong item in general at making sure that enemies can't run from you. This is an active Haze that we're seeing being played, which is very different from what everyone says Haze has to do. What other characters would be able to do this? So characters that can fly, like Vindicta and Talon, have a little bit of an ability to do this because they can fly over from overhead and rain their attacks down from above. It allows them to have, and they can do it from much, much longer range than any other heroes because they have the longest range guns in the game while flying. So I'd say those are 2 heroes that have a capability of doing something similar, but the Haze has the specialty of pressing the invisibility button any second now. There it is. And thus, you just kind of have to worry. And look at that, she waits for Pocket to be just unable to respond. They might have thrown the Slowing Hex a little bit too early, so Pocket was able to cape out of there. But otherwise, Pocket still lost half his health there. Had to run away, wasn't able to get any sort of damage done on the Abrams. So the Abrams continues to face no real pressure because of the constant Haze harass that the Pocket is dealing with.
Come back if you need anything else.
Moving into position.
And now Haze is looking over at her nearby dual lane. See, this is actually kind of a harder lane to make an impact on usually. But with a really good fist by her Viscous teammate, they get themselves a very easy kill onto the Mirage, a lot of damage down onto the Geist, and an eventual kill. So that was less Haze doing super big plays herself and more her teammates doing super big plays, but capitalizing on it. And they might not have even gone for that play without the 3rd member, the Haze, showing up in the first place. Now that's the weakness of doing this kind of play. Oh wait, why aren't you just dash jumping out of it? Oh wait, is it because it's actually a solid ult? Oh, crazy. Anyway, that's the weakness of the kind of play that Haze is doing. They lost their tower first. The Guardian goes down because Grey Talon is trying to defend against 2 people, and he got pushed out of lane, as happens 2v1. But at the same time, her side lane with Viscous and Kelvin is doing quite well. Her Abrams is doing quite well. I personally think that Abrams has a little difficulty in facing against Pocket once Pocket gets his ultimate Affliction available, but he's had no trouble whatsoever. And look at Haze with the top net worth in the game easily. She's been part of a couple of kills. She's been part of all kinds of lane soaking, jungling, and roaming all at the same time. And this is just a very, very active Haze. Warden coming down. This is actually a really weird choice, I would say. And almost gets her killed. I'm not sure that that was the best play. If another person was around the corner, that was a very dead Haze. If she had her ult, I could understand jumping in like that on the Warden, but I'd say that that's like our first misplay we've seen out of the Haze player here play with me. Everything else that she has done for the entire duration of the game so far has been fantastic.
I see the enemy.
Why the lane swap there? Because the Guardian Tower is no longer in Haze's lane, and Haze wants a slightly safer lane, and with Grey Talon there, that might be a dead Warden. That's a dead Warden.
Impressive work. I will tear through their army.
It's brutal out.
I'll slip right through them.
On top of that, the other thing is that they were,
We got the objective.
they probably just wanted to be able to push a lane. Haze was, at the moment, their most farmed character, so putting her in the quote-unquote solo lane
I'll have safe passage.
would be a lot easier for her to push than trying to push a lane without your own safety tower into the enemy's tower. Warden goes in with his ult, Haze goes in with her ult, and the Haze will go down there. Little overzealous. Warden ult early game is pretty strong, but at the same time she was part of a kill, so not the worst.
Someone's using their noodle.
Here, let's go watch someone else in the meantime while Haze is respawning. Oh yeah, that's exciting farm right there. Press that lightning ball, 7. Hell yeah. Alright, back to Haze. But the big thing that you're seeing is a lot of movement on the map, a lot of pressure being done by the Haze. Haze is getting farm along the way. And if you take a look at Haze's items are all about being able to shoot a whole lot very quickly and being able to
I'll survive.
slow down the enemy and keep them in place so that she can shoot them. She's got active reload. She's got a lot of extra ammo from her items. She has both Quicksilver reload and, like I mentioned, active reload. So she has 2 different ways of quickly reloading her weapons. And, of course, as I pointed out earlier when she picked it up, Slowing Hex, which is just plain good if you're looking to fight with Haze by making it difficult for enemies to run away from you. But the other thing that's really good about it is that heroes like Pocket, heroes like Ivy, heroes like
And they will die.
Infernus, even Mirage, all have abilities that they can normally use to get themselves out of a sticky situation and run away from that Slowing Hex completely shuts down.
The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed.
Warden, sleepy. Blast him, he pops his ult, and he's dead. He does not have time for that ult to go off, that's for sure. So, Warden's ult takes, what, 2 seconds from start till actually being active? And Haze with these items is doing a lot of DPS during her ult. That's good stair attack, I like it. When I say a lot of DPS, I mean like probably something around 600 to 700 damage per second. Which, at this point in time, when people are walking around with this level of health, in fact, hold on, let me see. What is Warden's max HP right now? 1670? That's like 3 seconds before the ult deletes him. Just raw. So, yeah, he does not have time to pop his ult and be able to survive long enough inside of the Haze ult. But wait, everyone online loves to say, hey, just build metal skin against her and run away. So, clearly, once everyone gets metal skin on the enemy team, Haze is shut down, and they'll just run away. Right? Well, obviously not, because this is a video entitled, How is Haze Able to Dominate in the Pro Scene When She's an F-tier Hero, basically.
Guardian has been defeated.
We're going to see that that's not really the greatest solution in the world a little bit later when people do have metal skin. Currently, they do not. Wait, here, let me take a look. No metal, no metal, no metal. No metal, no metal, no metal. Not yet. Mid-boss being done, not a single hero dead on the enemy team, but they've got a 13k advantage. They've got Kelvin, they've got Viscous. So they have a really good way of securing this for themselves, and it's a great call to take that mid-boss even without enemies dead.
Be still.
And because the Pocket had to commit himself to that fight, they don't have him available for a while. It does mean that they can do this push pretty aggressively. Talon barely gets out on a sliver of health. But otherwise, perfectly acceptable and safe exit.
Deadlock never hurt anyone, but in this case, it's gonna do some
The
serious
spirit
damage.
urn
Am
is
I right?
waiting to be claimed.
And this is an interesting item choice. Lucky Shot
I'll slip right through them.
as her first flex slot item is not what I would have expected personally. It gives a bunch more ammo and it gives crits, which means it does make it so that she is a lot more dangerous while she focuses someone down. And it lowers her time to kill as long as she gets those procs by quite a bit. Hey, look, metal skin. Oh, hey, look, the metal skin didn't help all that much. Shocker.
The OSIC trained me well.
Now, don't get me wrong, I do think metal skin's a good item. And I do think it's a good item against Haze. I just don't think it is the hard counter, it shuts her down completely that everyone seems to claim it is. Pocket shows up, he's been slowing hexed, and he's not going anywhere with the Kelvin ult. So slowing hex made it so that Pocket had to hold his cape until the end of the duration. And then the second it was done, Kelvin just drops the ult to guarantee he doesn't get away. And while he does Affliction, I mean, look at it. Look at it. It's nowhere near enough to make that big of an impact at this point in the game.
Let's take out guns.
There's still time to push with the rejuvenator.
Or at least I should say Affliction by itself is not nearly enough, especially when the enemy is inside of a Kelvin ult for half the duration of it, and just healing up the damage they otherwise would have taken. Actually, let me see. Has he leveled Affliction? He's got it at level 2, so it suppresses healing a bit.
Death brings consequences.
Still didn't seem like it did all that much at the end of the day.
Time to disappear.
By the way, if you're wondering why they said 23 there, they're timing the mid-boss respawn. how many pro games of Haze. There are very, very few people playing Haze in professional games, but this player, Play With Me, made her seem pretty darn broken this game. So her lane went well. Both of the lanes next to her, she roamed to and helped make go better.
On the move.
And from that point forward, she's been applying a lot of pressure, a lot of kill participation, all that stuff. Meanwhile, the one who's actually hard farming is Seven. Seven has been part of only 4 kills, hasn't been doing a whole lot of anything but farming, but that's because Seven has the fastest farming hero in the game. So it makes perfect sense for them to do that. Have Haze be a little bit more active, have Seven be a lot more of the passive farmer.
They delivered the earth.
And get themselves to late game. And notice that Haze herself picked up Metal Skin. And if you're wondering why, that is because you've got items like Return Fire. Oh, wow, there's only one return. I could have sworn there was a second Return Fire. Well, part of it is Return Fire. Return Fire during Haze ult will shoot bullets back. And Return Fire shoots bullets back at enemies, right? For one reason or another, during Haze ult, Return Fire guarantees headshots get sent back at Haze. And that's probably a big part of the reason why Haze picked up Metal Skin. The other reason is because Metal Skin's a good item. Anyone that says Metal Skin's a bad item is questionable, I would say, because it is a very strong item. To have 3 seconds of invincibility versus bullets is really nice.
Our blue guardian
Headed to yellow.
defeated.
That's a very dead Geist there. That's a very dead Mirage there. So that wasn't even Haze making big plays. That was just her team going in, and Haze happened to show up after a little bit after they started the fight. Stealing farm is always nice. I sure do love stealing farm. I love to see it. There we go. There's the mid-boss. So they mistimed the mid-boss slightly. They were saying 23. As you can see, it was 23-19. And look at that. They're already in the mid-boss. They're already fighting it. Haze is preventing Mirage from going in. They know that this fight is going on.
They're in mid.
Alright, Haze ult and Dynamo ult, or sorry, 7 ult, and holy crap, they killed 5 of them, but they still stole the Rejuvenator on the enemy team somehow. I'm actually really confused at how they got that Rejuvenator steal, but it cost them the lives of literally everyone. So, not very worth it.
Today there will be a reaping.
Hold on, just to pause real quick. If I take a look at incoming damage, so... Oh, whoops, wrong team, sorry. Let's take a look at incoming damage. So, Haze did an ass ton there. Over 1,000 on him. Well, that's weird. It says Malice, but it's the Haze dagger. That's got to be a bug. That was just a chase down. That was Haze ult again. That was Grey Talon annihilating the hell out of Ivy. And that was 7. And Gooball, apparently. So Haze got a big contribution on 3 of those kills. And hold on, let me see. Do we got Metal Skin on anyone on that team yet? any metal skin. One metal skin on Infernus who died to Haze ult anyway.
Who's ready for a 2 a.m. metro ride?
So yeah, there's that. Hold on, let me pause and oh god, Haze is a puppet. She's on strings.
Thank you.
We got a little bit of a spectator bug. Hi, brother. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for the resub. Oh, maybe swapping... Yeah, there we go. Swapping cameras fixed it. And now Haze gets Ricochet. So this is another thing that I think is very important on why this Haze pick worked out so well, and that is item acquisition order,
Someone's using
item priority, that kind of stuff.
Go purple.
I think Haze picked up the right items at the right times.
Let's go green.
Haze didn't rush the Ricochet for farming. Haze is picking up a lot of defensive items. She has improved spirit armor with metal skin, making it so that both the spirit damage and gun damage is something that she can easily tank through and not die super fast in, so she's not super squishy. And her impact has been all over the map. She hasn't been just farming the jungle. She has been part of 17 of her team's 25 kills. In fact, she has the highest kill participation on her team right now.
Let's go purple.
These are all things that I think are what made this Haze a very successful pick, right? And like I said before, you look at these Haze items. She's got bullet lifesteal, metal skin, and improved spirit armor. This Haze isn't going to die very easily. Instead, she's going to pop her shit, ult, and kill the Infernus. Again, Infernus has metal skin, and he died. Metal skin doesn't last longer than Haze ult. Haze ult lasts longer, and he was trapped inside of the Kelvin dome, so he was not getting out in time. So what are we getting next on Haze? Since she's getting enough money to pick up just about anything pretty soon.
The urn is ours.
I actually forget what items she got in what order. Because I did watch this game while it was live, but I'm not entirely sure. That right there, though, is why it is tempting to try and pick up Ricochet as an early item. Just because of how much it increases your farm speed. And I do think that in public games, it might be better to get Ricochet a little early and do a little more farming. Because you might not necessarily be able to coordinate with your teammates quite so well. But at the same time, you see the impact that Haze can make by being active. There's Unstoppable. There's a larger AoE for her ultimate, Mystic Reach. And there's duration increase. So duration increase will increase Unstoppable duration up to 6.8 seconds now. That's so long to be completely unable to be stunned. And her ultimate now lasts 8.42 seconds, according to that. I know that the HUD is messed up, but that's part of the game. The game HUD is always messed up on that. So she essentially has a 7-second long ult that you cannot do anything about, other than try to run away from. So they've got the timing of the mid-boss down. Mid-boss will be up within this minute, but they're not timing it exactly. So this is something that pro teams still need to do a little bit more work on is getting the exact timing down of things. So rather than saying 29, they could say something like 29:45 or whenever it's going to spawn. Hey, there we go, 29:40. Why are you always shooting a bullet while doing that? Don't tell me that this Haze is actually aimbotting like crazy, and that's the indicator that she's cheating. Oh shit, did we crack the code? Is that the only reason Haze won? No, probably not.
He's on the roof.
Probably just a weird thing they do.
I'll have safe passage.
Haze is invisible right now. Smoke bomb. I know it's
Geist.
we got a replay bug going on, so we can't actually see the duration and everything of the invisibility. Bridge buff. Pocket got it. But right now, there's a 40k lead on the side of the DMS team, which is Haze's team.
I see it first.
And mid-boss is the big thing that is currently being contested by both sides. In the meantime, while this is happening, you notice that Abrams has grabbed the urn for his team. And because the enemy team has to deal with them at mid-boss, because the Haze at this point can solo the mid-boss without any problem, the Abrams player gets a pretty free capability to just run on out with it. And they play slightly defensive around mid. Free urn. That's an extra 10k in their pocket, I think. Close to it.
See Mirage.
And at the end of the day, they aren't even pressured off the mid-boss, because Haze can do this.
Let's take out Geist.
Haze is far from the only hero that can do this, by the way, once they're farmed enough. Like, a Wraith could do this, an Infernus could do this. Ooh. Oh, that's a lot of damage. But there it is, Metal Skin, Unstoppable, Ultimate. Haze goes back to full health. Warden gets killed. They get the mid-boss.
Our walker is under attack.
Moving into this.
I see Mirage.
And right there,
Allies and end
I want to once again ask everyone that says, why don't you just metal skin and run away? Why didn't they just metal skin and run away from this Haze? It's such an obvious counter that everyone can do at all times, no matter the situation.
they only have one shrine.
It's not like there was a Kelvin Dome or Viscous stunning or anything like. It's not like Haze has teammates. I'm sorry, I'm being a very petty bitch when I say that, because of the number of people that have said metal skin and run away is just hard counters Haze and makes her a worthless hero, and we're seeing that's not true, especially if Haze has any teammate help whatsoever, which
If you're looking
They-
to cripple
they
your
do.
enemy, do I have the thing for you?
and Inhibitor, you see that Haze has 7 green items instead of 8 gun items. This is another reason why I think the Haze in this game was very successful. Like I said, item acquisition, item choices, item order, all that stuff is important. And I think the Haze picked the right items at the right time for the game that she is in. If in that last mid-boss encounter, Haze had the usual public item build that you see people go, of like 8 gun items or 7 gun items, something close to it, and getting unstoppable super late, that kind of stuff, and not having defensive stuff, the Haze would have died, the Haze would have done nothing, the Haze would have felt bad. And that's the kind of Haze that is making people say Haze is an F tier hero and Haze can't do anything. Is the Hazes that build bad, the Hazes that are like, Well, I'm just gonna go 8 gun items and hold the left click on them, and if anyone gets close to me, I'll press the 4 button. Those Hazes are F-tier heroes because they're F-tier players. It's not that the hero's bad, it's that the players are piloting them poorly, right?
I see Warden.
Oh, Warden. Oh, Warden. Oh, Warden. Never mind. Oh, Mirage. Oh, Mirage. I don't think they had a chance of that fight until they brought more people in. Metal Skin, Unstoppable, Ultimate, Rescue Beam. Oh my god, Haze lived. Okay, Viscous and Kelvin MVP plays right there. That Haze should have died 7 times over. But even with this build, and this is a good build for not dying super easily, wow. The amount of healing that Haze received from her allies was so high. And from her bullet dance as well.
Let's go purple. I see Infernus.
But again, if Haze didn't have all these tanky items, she would have just died there and done nothing. Even with the assistance of Kelvin and Viscous, who both saved the shit out of her there. She was absolutely dead to rights going to die without the help of her teammates. So that's not a Haze play, that's a Kelvin and Viscous did super good play right there. That being said, I actually wonder how many carries would have survived that situation, because Haze did receive a really high amount of healing from her bullet dance.
The shadows embrace me.
So it might have partly been Haze herself being able to survive stuff she shouldn't during her ult. Because remember, her ult gives her bullet evasion, and because it shoots so very fast, she heals really quickly.
Mid-boss has arrived.
Headed to. Let's go green.
So, it looks like the same plan as before.
I see Geist.
Haze might sit inside of mid-boss for a little bit and pressure it while they have the Abrams carry the urn. Guess not at the moment, but it worked out really well for them last time. They are up 50k. I actually do think this is a slight misplay by this team, is them being so passive. Now, I am a fan of the phrase, when you're ahead, get more ahead, when it comes to competitive games, and I understand wanting to play a little bit safe. But there comes a time when you're so far ahead, it becomes a math problem. And it becomes a math problem the enemy team can't solve without your team making massive, massive mistakes. And even if you take a slightly aggressive stance on an objective like mid-boss, or even if you try to force a fight down their throat, I feel like they're so far ahead, it's in that math problem territory. You know what I mean? But that's more of a team decision rather than a single hero decision. We're more here to look specifically at the decisions of the Haze player, right?
Let's take out Ivy.
The spirit urn is waiting to be claimed. Amber Hand could count on you, Kelvin.
Ooh, mid-boss going down. Now, if Haze gets her invis back up in a second, there it is. She gains a huge move speed boost. Okay, that roar was bait to try and get a fight started. There's Pocket, he'll get out.
I see Pocket.
you look at the health bars right now, just a little skirmish, a couple people walking away with some scrapes and bruises, but nothing major there. Still a 50k lead on one team. Pocket's come back in. Popped everything. He's dead. There's the Warden ult. Warden's going to try and fight. Haze is caught. Metal Skin, unstoppable, ultimate. And she's fine.
Let's take out Geist.
Moving into position.
And once more,
Well
the
done.
Infernus hero, who has Metal Skin, just died during her ultimate. And yeah, they're calling GG because this game is very over. Yeah. So the basics of what I'm getting at here is not that Haze is a bad hero, and anyone that says Haze is a bad hero has a weird perception of the game. Either they're very, very biased based on their teammates in pub games, and they're not looking at the kit of the hero and what the hero is capable of. Because Haze did a lot that game. She got the second highest hero damage, player damage done. I know it says objective damage there. That's a slight a slight misprint on the location of stuff. She had the most objective damage done. She had the highest kill participation of her team at 28 of their kills she was part of. And she had the second highest healing. Now it was self-healing. But still, look, she healed herself 20,000 in that fight, because Bullet Dance heals very, very fast. She healed almost as much as Lady Geist, who has a health swap. She healed more than Viscous, who bought a Rescue Beam and has the Cube, and bought Echo Shard, apparently, to be able to cube more than one teammate. And that's because at max level Cube removes debuffs, and that removes Pocket's Affliction, and kind of hard counters Pocket's ultimate. You notice that the Pocket only dealt 17,000 damage that game. And that's definitely part of it, is cubing anyone who is afflicted. Just removes it straight up. So, it's not that Haze is a bad hero. It's instead that players are misplaying her. Players aren't being active on her early, and they're just running around in the jungle soaking up as much farm as they can, building nothing but gun items and no survivability, jumping into the enemy team and dying. Maybe they'll get unstoppable eventually, but if they take too long to get it, they just feel like a dead hero. So, if people take inspiration from this game, it should be of two things. Number one, being a more active player on Haze and using the strength of her invisibility and ability to run from one place to the next very quickly and set up with her sleep dagger. And number two, making sure to take the time to build those defensive items to keep herself alive. Her first flex slot item was an aggressive item with Lucky Shot, which helped her farm more, helped her roam a little better, stuff like that. But her very next flex slot item, what was it? Metal Skin. Her very next item, what was it? Improved Spirit Armor. Survivability items. Things that make it so that she doesn't go down too easily, so that if she is getting focused, she has the ability to pop these defensive stuff, pop her ultimate, and heal back up to a place where she's not dead. Now, part of it definitely comes down to the fact that Kelvin and Viscous were very, very on top of making sure that their teammates were healthy. Especially Kelvin. 40,000 healing done is insane, dude. 40,000 is nuts. Because the vast majority of that is all going out to allies rather than just himself. And he's got Healing Booster, he's got Healing Nova, he's got Rescue Beam, he's got the Frost Grenades, he's got the Frozen Shelter, the Ice Dome. Tons and tons and tons of healing capability coming out of this Kelvin. I actually do think the Kelvin was probably instrumental in a lot of their teamfight victories because of this. Because that is That's essentially making every team fight double the HP on all of his allies, which is a lot more damage to try and chew through before they're able to claim any kills. And you can see it on the scoreboard. 1 death, 4 deaths. Ooh, 1 death, 1 death, 0 death, 1 death. Barely any kills whatsoever going to the enemy team. A lot of kills going to their side. They were able to play very aggressively, and part of it comes down to, a large part of it comes down to the Haze, who was part of most of their kills. 28 kill participation, the highest on the team. A ton of work done. So, basically, in conclusion, Haze is a pretty solid hero. I still think Wraith is better. But, I mean, who wouldn't think Wraith is better? Wraith is kind of busted at the moment. But Haze is very good in her own right. She's definitely not the F tier that people say they are. And as we saw with Infernus, dying to Haze again and again and again, Metal Skin is not the end-all, be-all counter to Haze's ultimate. Because sometimes you're not allowed to run away due to her teammates, or sometimes the Haze has a slowing hex on you and you can't run away, or sometimes you've already gone in and you don't have the stamina or abilities to run away, that kind of stuff, you know? At the end of the day, Haze is a pretty solid hero. She puts a lot of pressure on the team if played well, and if players get a little more active with her in public games in the early game, and build her a little bit better rather than the current build that I see running around, like I said, 7 or 8 gun items before any survivability, and Haze walking around with like 1,000 HP. Yeah, of course that Haze isn't going to feel very strong because, you know, a single Lady Geist Bomb hits her and she explodes, or something along those lines. So there you go. In conclusion, Haze is not a bad hero. I hope this was at least somewhat informative and interesting.
Thank you.
6 years of Thor W love.
Hey, thanks, August. Hope this was interesting. I actually find it really interesting to dive into why heroes that are supposed to not be good can find success in the highest level of gameplay. This is a professional game with $1,000 on the line between these two teams. They picked Haze instead of any other hero that could have been played that was available. I'm pretty sure for that game, Wraith was banned as one of their bans. So that means that they decided Haze was the better pick over heroes like Bebop, or Dynamo, or, I mean, based on pick order, Haze was actually the very last pick in the game, so that does mean that any of the heroes that were picked in this game prior to her were kind of off the table at the time. So I'm sure they probably would have picked Infernus over Haze, given the opportunity, but they liked her more over McGinnis, or Lash, or Vindicta, or Yamato. Actually, Yamato might have been the other ban. I think Yamato was the other ban. It was Wraith and Yamato, I think. So yeah, while she's not the #1 priority, she's not bad. She's playable. She can find success. And she can even look like a stomping hero because she stomped pretty good there. That was a very, very, very well-played Haze, and it really kind of reinforces my thoughts on the matter of, like, this hero's not weak. I think people are just building her a little bit poorly in pub games, and well, there's a good example of a well-built, well-played Haze.